Hello again everyone. Welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. I wanted to make a video today to add to a series of videos I have called History and Heritage. I don't get to make these very often, but there are times when I get a machine and when I rescue it and purchase it from whoever owns it, I'm given some of the history of the machine because it's been in a family. This gorgeous Singer 201 is one of those examples. And when I picked it up, I learned that it had belonged to the seller's mom, and she had bought it brand new. And when she passed away, the one of her children got the machine and kept it. They didn't really use it; it just sat. And they've had it for a long time and decided it was time. Maybe they were downsizing. I'm not sure, but they decided it was time to sell the machine. And so, as I was talking to them about the machine, they were telling me what incredible care that the person's mom had taken care of the machine. And when I got the machine, I've been going through it, and it had sat for a while and hadn't been used for a while, but basically she had taken great care of it. Now it was, I had to clean it. It had some dust on it, but I mean, think of all the things that you and I have. If we have things that we don't, you know, we don't use them, we put them away, and sometimes our own stuff gathers dust too. But that doesn't mean that she didn't take exquisite care of this machine, and you all know how I feel about Singer 201s. But I thought today I would talk a little bit about the sort of surprises that you sometimes get with a sewing machine. Now, I did a video where I showed some of the items that I pulled out, and these are just a few of the items that I pulled out of the drawer because, and I still have the tape measure from a furniture company that was there, and of course these lovely vintage bobbins and the seam guide. They were in this little flip out drawer. But remember, sometimes people who get machines, either you're not aware, or sometimes we simply forget that there are other places where items are stored. And this machine came with the original sewing stool or seat that I don't know if it was included with the table, but when this machine was purchased, the 201, and it was bought with the table. This is the original table that you can see here that I've been showing the machine in. Well, in addition to all of that, remember that when you get one of these stools and you're going to transport it, they don't weigh very much and they're fairly easy to handle, but don't turn it upside down, because if you do, well, let's just say you're apt to potentially have things go spilling. And this is an example of that. Now, you can often, sometimes you'll get these little stools and they're wonderful. If someone offers it to you, take it. Even if you don't think you'll use it, they're actually designed to fit perfectly under the table and out of the way. But I like to keep everything that was with the machine with it if I can. And sometimes you'll open it up and there's nothing there. I recently bought I had to purchase another 201, and that machine, there was nothing in there. So, but this one, a lot of the sewing stuff, because I believe the owners would use these areas often because they didn't have anywhere else. The little table, the little pop open drawer that I've shown you, yeah, it holds, a decent amount of things, but not all of this. So I thought I would take all of you with me, and so we could kind of get a feel for the items that were kept by the owner of this machine. And very often they go back to the machine itself when it was new. So let's just take a look. And I was happy to see this. I haven't gone through any of this stuff yet, by the way. I just went through the items in the little pop-out drawer in the table that I showed you in an earlier video. So this is the original manual. It is a Singer 201-3. Oh, and it has, it's still put together. These are softback manuals and lots of detail, and they were stapled. This one's in good shape. It has its cover. It will be included with the machine when I find a new owner. I'll set that aside. And this, well, that's interesting. This is obviously some sort of promotional material for the Singer company, and you can see, in fact, I see what I believe is a Singer 201, but this model, do any of you guys spot that? I don't know if you can see that in this light, but there's the what we today we call it the potted motor, Singer's direct drive motor that they had, which is interesting because that may have cost more than what the machine that I was just showing you right here. It does not have the potted motor, so this has the traditional rear mounted motor with a belt, which is fine. They're wonderful. Um, that doesn't mean it's less, but I suspect Singer would have charged more for their potted motors. I think they were more expensive to produce. But here you see a picture of a woman and her, presumably her daughter, and they're sewing. You have to be careful. Something, I don't know if it's a little sticky there. Oh, okay. Now I see why. Aha. The cover, remember these are just, this would have been maybe stapled or even glued together. And then we have, I wonder if this is one of those guides that's double printed. I'm not sure. Anyway, you can see, unless that's a separate, I don't know, I'll have to figure that one out. Okay, let's see here. Trying to figure out which way to open this. Modern Singer sewing machines, and it shows a cabinet model. Now, model 49 is actually not the cabinet. I don't believe this is the cabinet the 201 would have gone into. These cabinets are they're a little more narrow. They're not quite as wide as the cabinet for this machine, and I suspect anytime I've seen these, it says here the 49 cabinets comes with either, I was going to guess, but hey, why guess when the manual is going to tell us? Because I know I've seen Singer 99s in these tables and later 185s. It says the 49 cabinet comes with either the 99K or 128-13 machine heads. The 128, for those of you who don't know, is a long shuttle machine. And so the cabinets had numbers, and then we're going to, oh wow, we're getting lots of different cabinets. Oh my goodness, look at this, everyone. Aw, there are prices written here. This is so cool because, again, when Singer would publish materials like this, there might be prices for machines and tables could change. And so I guess it was smart of them. They had a price list they could share with the consumer. And again, what just happened here, be careful. Those of you get these materials, they're remember, they were not, they're not hardbound books, and they're very old, so treat them gently. This is the cabinet model number 40, and that's the model cabinet that this machine came with, that you see that I was showing you earlier. Now, this particular one in the brochure, it has a grain. I don't know if this is I'm not sure how this was done, if this was a photograph or a colored drawing, but within this design of table, there would have been many price points depending on which wood veneer you might choose. But look at this. It says, I see two prices. I see, if I can hold it still for all of you, what do I see? I see $249.50 and $274.50. And I don't know if that meant you could just buy the table or if you had to pay extra for the stool. Maybe that explains the $24 difference. Or it could have been the customer would have written this down, or maybe the salesperson did. Maybe it had to do with the kind of wood. Remember, the different wood veneers would have different prices. What do we have here? Simple conversion for treadle machines. Look at that. Remember, around 1950, there were plenty of people who still had their treadles, and they were happy with them. And so Singer would say, well, wouldn't you like an electrified machine, right? Electric machines came out much earlier, but people and their sewing machines were not always quick to change technology. It's not like we do often with our smartphones. And it says, any Singer hand or treadle machine made in the last 25 years can easily be made an electric by addition of a quiet, trouble-free Singer motor. So again, you didn't have to buy a whole new machine. Remember, these things were so costly, as were the tables. And so someone says, well, I might be open to using an electric machine, but I'm not replacing my machine. They have no problem. We can take care of that. I'm pretending I'm a Singer salesperson back in the day. We can take care of that. We can just, they would retrofit the machines with motors. And here you see the Singer button style foot pedal. Singer Light can also be added. It illuminates your sewing, reduces eye strain. Remember, in the days of the treadle, they were still selling treadle sewing machines even after we had electricity. But electricity was adopted by the public, over a period of decades. It's not like everybody walked out and said, okay, we're all doing electric now. It took time. And so, most of those, I guess all of the treadle machines originally didn't have electric light. So preferred the world over for 100 years. So this is a long time ago. Singer was had already become a very old company. What do we have here? And there we go. There's electric portables. And you see that's the 128 right there. And then over here you see the Singer 99. This particular Singer 99, I believe, was made before, I think I'm seeing the design. Yeah, this is before they had reverse. The 3/4 sized head of the oscillating sewing hook type with round bobbin comes equipped with Singer Light, and goes on, and it says copyright. They've got 1939 all the way up to 1951 for copyrights. And so if I turn this around, sorry, I'm having to teach myself how to read this thing because of the orientation of the pages. This is cabinet model number 75. And it, a fine walnut or maple finish. Now it says $202 on this one. So again, it says it holds, this cabinet is equipped with machine head number 1590. That's the class 15 Singer. So again, they may have had certain machines they offered certain tables for. I'm not sure. Let's see what else. And look at there, treadle machine number 404. So around 1950, you could still get a treadle machine from Singer. Why? You think, well, gosh, by 1950, keep in mind there were still very rural areas in North America, both in Canada and in the US, where people didn't have reliable electricity, or you had people, 1950, you still have a lot of people who had never known anything but treadle machines, and they still were sewing. And so there was a market still for that. And let's look here. I'm going to have to try to revive or restore this pamphlet. I'm going to have to figure out what page is which. It says printed in Canada. Then it says the Singer Sewing Company, Durham Road, Hanover, Ontario. Special accessories for your machine. Remember, these were upsells, right? The dealers could make extra money by selling these things. You could get a cording foot. Would you like a cording foot? Here's a hem stitcher, a zipper foot, buttonholer, the buttonholer device, blind stitcher, and zigzagger. Now, and then you see all the different styles of the stools. I have a hunch that all of these were extras, but to seal the deal, remember, it was the sewing machines that were very expensive. And some of our pages here are, look at this. The Singer Featherweight number 221-1. Oh yes. It has its own page spread there. Here's a fancier table, cabinet number 43, right? And it's for the 201-3 1591. Now this would have been extra. So 297, and then it says something plus or minus $25. So this was $300. Remember, the smaller cabinet, like the one this machine came in, was $250. Now you may say, well, it was only $50 difference. Why didn't they go for the bigger cabinet? A couple of things. I don't know how big the person's home was, and every cubic or square foot of space in a home mattered when you were living in 800, 900 square feet on average in North America back in the day. You had large families, but also you paid a lot more. $50 back in 1950, that was a bigger deal. And someone says, well, the other one will be fine. Just like many of us do today when we're shopping. This is the Aristocrat. It holds the 201, 296. Now, Why is the Aristocrat $296? We saw another table in this pamphlet that was, same size and dimensions for less. Well, it says gracefully curved legs, carefully selected woods. You can see the difference, right? You're seeing where fancier woods, and these would have been veneers, walnut, mahogany, cherry. You paid extra for those, and I'm what I find so interesting here is this is like a lesson because we see the prices that were written so long ago, and we'll have to do I think I want to do a different video just on this, just to talk about what would it cost today in today's dollars. Okay, what do we have? We have a selection of attachments. Remember, before the age of computer sewing machines, if your machine was going to do anything other than that straight lock stitch, you needed to have an accessory to make that happen. And we have adjustable hammer foot. And what else do we have? We have a ruffler. Now, some of these attachments either were included with the machine or they were negotiable. Imagine, someone's like, well, this is a lot of money. And to seal the deal, you can just imagine the dealer saying, well, you know what? I know you love that ruffler foot. We'll throw that in for you. Or it may have been included with the machine. I literally don't know. And look at this. Look at that. Right? This would not have been included. This would have been extra. This would have been more expensive to make. And I've told you all, my gosh, just the quality of the attachments alone tells you what they might cost today if you had to make them. What else have we got in here? We have a slot-head binder foot. This would have been very popular. Everything from baby's bib to tablecloths and other fashion needs. Zipper foot. And they were sometimes used as cording feet. And we have a sort of surrounded by thread here. What is that? We'll have to see what that is. Did any of you know what this is? Is it I don't think it's a button foot. I'm not really sure. That's, I'm not accustomed to that. This, of course, is a rolled hammer foot. God help me, I've tried. I can't roll hems with these things. First of all, I can't sew, and second, I have giant hands, so there's that. And I have a Singer, lovely Singer little screwdriver, which you really do want when you're adjusting the bobbin case tension. And this, look at that. This is new to me. I've never seen this before. It's beautifully made. Now I have to figure out what it is. If any of you know, please tell me. You can help teach the teacher here about vintage sewing machines. So there we go. So this, lots of attachments. You never know what's going to be here. We have some cording, I think. Yes, we have a button holder. This would have been extra. These button holders are, again, beautifully made. People would make all sorts of items, coats, for example. You needed to have a button holder, a way to make buttons. These devices they make incredible quality buttonholes. But again, they're not convenient in the sense a modern machine is. You have to set them up. And of course, we have templates. Looks like somebody may have even gotten as an incentive or maybe paid extra for some extra templates. And of course, it has its own manual. And you need the manual. Again, a wonderful device, but and Eaton's 8 Needles. Eaton's was a very famous department store chain here in Canada, for those of you in the US. And it's, again, seeing a part of history. Eaton's is gone, like most department stores. And one of the things that, oh, look at that. One of the things that dates these needles, it says Singer Needles, but down here, I don't know if you guys can make out. I just see it in the light. Made in West Germany. Well, we know it's before the fall of the Berlin Wall. We also know it's back when Singer needles were made in Germany. They're not anymore. In case you wondered. All right, we have a few other odds and ends here, but always go through everything. You never know what's in here. And look at this. Singer needles made in Redditch, England. So these go back even further. Oh my. And I see sort of a brass color. I'm used to seeing that on the titanium coated organ brand needles, but It says 20 sharps. Oh, hand sewing needles. Aha. So people still needed to do hand sewing. Now the owner had a lot of these ribbon, or the name is escaping me. You guys help me out and tell me what I'm looking at here. I believe they had webbing. No, maybe not. Okay, and then we have this box, and we have other things in here. What do we have? We have screw eyes for something, probably for hanging things like drapes. And we have Corticelli round rayon elastic. Rayon elastic, you know, they would later replace that with things like Lycra. So, made in Canada. And it's got a picture of a cat. It's 9 feet of it for 15 cents. That's a long time ago, obviously. And again, a lot of times when you get machines, you start looking through what they used to call sewing notions, which is, I call it the stuff that sewers use. You would, this looks like webbing of some sort. Also be careful, because you will have pins and things like here, and the original owner may know where those pins are, but you don't want to find out the hard way. Ouch. Here's another. But, and more ribbon, and even a buckle, right? And here, that's another Singer screwdriver, I believe. So what you see is, and not everything will be the same age. Obviously, people who sewed, you know, for a lifetime, they would collect things, and finding buttons and other items like this is not unusual. But I wanted to share this with you because when you go through a sewing machine that is, you have some of the history of it, and it really has not been, you know, this machine has not really been, you really can get a sense of, you know, almost a lifetime of sewing. You know, you start thinking, it's very likely that this machine was probably purchased when a family was young. The parents were young, and they were, you know, people needed sewing machines. They sewed so many of their own clothes. And, you know, you see what basically the person who used the machine, who was the original owner and user, may have, you know, they may have gotten some of these things, I'm sure, when they got the machine new. And then over time, they might go into the sewing store and say, well, you know, I think I will buy that extra attachment, you know, if it wasn't included in the deal. And it is often, for me, it's humbling. You know, you go through and you realize that something that was so cared for because it was so expensive, and yes, it's an appliance, you know, it's a device, it's an inanimate object, but it is part of the history of a person's life and of a family's life, and from a different time. I often talk about, you know, vintage sewing machines for their quality and the way so many consumer items, not just sewing machines, were made. They were made with a level of quality that's hard to imagine. You would think it would, you know, it seems unreal until you actually put your hands on them. So I just wanted to share this with all of you. And again, many times when I get machines, I don't get a lot of the original stuff because the machines have passed through many hands. But when I get what is essentially a one owner being sold by the you know, the family of the original owner, it just it's I don't know, it makes me feel reverent for what I'm looking at, not just because I'm looking at a machine, but because I'm looking at something that it shows the attitude and the philosophy that our ancestors had for when they bought stuff. They expected it to last. Yes, it would need maintenance and repair, and they had the right to repair. If you said, hey, what do you think about the right to repair? They'd look at us strangely because they're like, what do you mean? Of course you can repair it. And that's not true of a lot of the things we have in our homes today. I hope that this was interesting for any of you. Some of you, please share your stories there in the comments. You may have gotten machines like this where you even see, you might see, you know, where a receipt where a person bought the machine. In this case, I don't know if it was the owner who bought the machine or if it was a salesperson, because someone would have gone to the store, and I doubt this was an impulse buy. They probably went in and said, can you give me the prices on some of these tables? We need to have a conversation at home about this before we spend the money. You know, not unlike the way, you know, many of us think when we're buying something like an automobile. So anyway, this is one of my favorite parts of this hobby because I'm a history nerd, as if you haven't figured out that already. And again, I appreciate all of you supporting the channel. If you would like to specifically give back to the channel, if you found it useful in any way, please consider clicking on any of the Buy Me a Coffee links that I have. They're on every video and on the channel homepage. And you can, it'll take you straight to my own Buy Me a Coffee page, and you can donate at whatever level you feel inspired to do. In any event, I appreciate you all watching, and we'll see you next time.